right, folks, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And thank you, Morne, for being available to speak to us about some of your recent discoveries in North Canterbury. And also, you're going to be talking to us about the room that you're in.
Yep.
So, a delight. And you've, of course, spoken to our group before. So thank you again for being available to give us a follow-up on that great previous talk. So very soon I will hand it over to you. Everyone who is joining us has been hearing that this session is being recorded. So as I hand it over to our speaker, I'll just ask that everyone ensures that they have themselves on mute unless you're going to ask a question. And if I could just please ask for you to hold your questions until the end. That way we get a nice continuous recording that we can then just make available on YouTube for those of us who are not here. So without further introduction, please take it away, Morne.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me talk about fossils again. I'm just going to share my screen over here. And if we just start that. So what I'm going to talk about today is just some of the recent fossils I've found, and also, like Daniel said, the space I'm in, which is my fossil workshop and kind of a display room that I've started about a month ago. And let's go over. This is one of my fossils from recently, but a little bit for people that don't know me, my name is Morne, pronounced Morne like that. And what I do is I find fossils, and I've kind of fallen into the science communication side of things. So this is me with a nice bullfish skull I found down south. And I started a YouTube channel and got a few people watching that, and found I quite enjoyed it. And I started doing school visits and a few presentations and that, and actually went back to university, but I might talk about that a bit later. And as you can tell from my accent, I'm not born in New Zealand. I'm from a little town called East London, which is quite a confusingly named town in South Africa. I'm not sure why they called it East London, but our claim to fame there is that that's where the coelacanth was rediscovered. And we also had some really old footprints, 124,000-year-old human footprints that were found there. Well, here's the first fossil I'm going to talk about. As you can see, this is a bone sticking out there. I've got a short video I'll play and just showing where this is at Morne. So this is Morne Beach, North Canterbury, about half an hour north from where I am now. It's a super rainy day, and I thought I'd just be out there for 5 minutes, but you can see there's a really nice bit of bone sticking out of this concretion, and someone might recognize it, but when I saw this, I saw, this piece of bone, could identify that quite easily as bone, but it had these, it looked like teeth sticking off them, but not quite teeth, bony teeth, and I was quite excited because I thought I'd found a really nice Pelagornithid. One had been found from Morne before. There's my impression of a Pelagornithid over there. And of course, I had to carry this 50-kilogram rock back to the car. Luckily, it wasn't too far away. It was pretty much at the car park. And here I'm using my air scribe just to remove the rock from that beautiful piece of bone there. The first little bit here was really nice. It was flaking away so easily from the bone. I didn't have to use any acid at all. Sometimes when it's sticky, you have to use some acetic acid or the microabrasion, but this was really nice. And you can see there's some more teeth being revealed there on the left, right over there. This is a slow process, but I speed it up on the time lapse. Otherwise, you'll be sitting here for an hour or two watching it. But yeah, I was really excited to see just how many teeth were there, and they were in really great condition. I'll show a close-up in a minute over here. But this beak, or this rostrum, just kept on going. I'm putting a bit of B72 on there just to strengthen it. And what I've actually got over there is, that's a 3D printed one. So I've got that same 3D printed rostrum over here. This is from Chileensis, the really big one, and it's very similar in size to the one I found, actually. So yeah, it did turn out to be what I suspect is a Pelagornithid. And over here on the bottom, this is the one, the teeth that I've exposed, and you can just see how well preserved they are. And I carried on prepping it, so the rest of the prep was a little bit trickier to start using some vinegar that's got a bit of calcium phosphate dissolved in it as a buffer. But this is what it's looking like now. So we've got the rostrum over on the left here. Can you see the mouse? Hope you can see the mouse over here. But I've got the rostrum on the left over here. Sorry, let me just minimize that. And then very excitedly, I started finding bits of the cranium over here, and the cranium is also in great condition. So this is the Pelagornis chilensis. And you can see that cranium very similar in size. It's missing a little bit there at the top, but yeah, it's in beautiful shape. There we go. And on the side of the concretion, there's another bone, which I'm hoping could be the mandible. So there's a piece of bone going in under the cranium, and you can see this is where it is on the concretion. So we've got the really nice rostrum here, missing the very tip of it over there. That is still part of it over there. We've got the cranium, and then I'm hoping we actually have the bottom mandible in there as well. I did go back to this place or the site, and I did find one or two more concretions, which I'm hoping are related to this bird. So one of the concretions is about 1 meter long, and it's got a hollow bone on either side. And I'm hoping when I prep that, it's actually going to be one of the wing bones of this same animal. Here's a photo. So this is, I went back at the urging of some, I think Lee Love urged me to go back and have a look again. So I went back the following weekend, and at the same rockfall, I found this piece of bone sticking out here. And it's pretty big. Sorry, I don't have a scale on this photo. It's about, I would say, 3 centimeters in diameter. And it goes throughout this entire block, and the block's almost 1 meter wide, and it's sticking out on the other side. So I'm hoping there's a joint in there somewhere, and we might have some articulated bones. So that was the first one. That's my first find. I found that, I think, right at the beginning of this year. So I found it in January, maybe early February. But this is one I mentioned in my last talk. So this might look a little bit familiar. This is also from the same spot as Machinau Beach. And this is how I found it. So I walked about 5 kilometers up and down the beach. And then when I got back to the car, this was right in front of my car, not even 3 or 4 meters.
That's the way it fucking works.
And you can see there's a bit of bone sticking out there. And there's another piece of bone sticking out there. And I thought at first it's just a vertebra. It had the shape of a whale vertebra, and whale vertebras are, a dime a dozen over there. They're everywhere. So I thought, I'll take it home. It's right at the car. If it was further down the beach, I might not have picked it up. But I took it back and started prepping it. There's a little bit of a close-up of it. I'm using my really large air scrub here, and then I get in closer with the smaller one. And what was weird is, as I was starting to prep it, the texture of the bone was very different to anything I've seen before. So if you look here in the middle area, it's very fibrous, and I didn't recognize it at all. It didn't look like a vertebra or the bones I normally find over there. It's mostly whale bones, the odd penguin. So I carry on prepping it, hoping it will become clear. I was just using the small air scrub, and once again using the vinegar. So what I do with the prepping like this is I remove most of the rock using the air scrub, and then that last millimeter of rock that's on the bone, I actually just dissolve it using acetic acid vinegar, and that gives you a really good finish to the bone surface. You're not actually scraping away that last or that first millimeter of the bone. It gives you all that detail on there. And yeah, in amongst the concretion, I was finding a few other bits and pieces. So I found this thing. So if someone recognizes that, please let me know at the end of the talk. I'm not sure what it is. I kept it. Oh, sorry. No, it's gone back. Yeah, so I kept that little thing that popped out there. And I did find a few bivalves in there as well. So every time I found anything weird, I just kept that piece of rock. So you might start seeing the shape now. You might start recognizing what it is. Yeah, it was a really fun prep. This took about, I think it was about 40 or 50 hours with the air scribe. It was not flaking away from the bone at all, except for this one little part here. So I had to use the vinegar for the last bit. Yeah, almost done with the air scribe now. And this is before I put it in the vinegar for the last section. So you can see it's got that last millimeter of rock covering the bone. Yeah, and I think this section took, 3 months of acid cycles. And there we've got a really nice turtle skull. So I was very surprised to find a turtle skull at Morne Beach. And it's a really large one. But I sent the measurements of this turtle away, and it's actually got a bite mark on the right there, just behind that eye there. And I actually sent the measurements away to an agency in the States, and they measured it against some loggerhead turtle skulls they had, and the carapace of this turtle would have been just over 1 meter. So quite a sizable turtle in the end. Yeah, so as you know, Matana is a little bit tricky with ages because you find all sorts of things down there on the beach, and this was a float, so it wasn't in situ. I've actually found a mosasaur vertebra amongst those rocks before, which probably came from further inland. I think there's some Cretaceous deposits further inland, so it's a little bit tricky to date these, but probably between 3 and 6 million years old. Yeah, the turtle shell would have been around about 1 meter in length. And the closest I could see is probably a loggerhead or a Kemp sea turtle. And yeah, I mentioned that it's about 100 hours, 100 hours with the air scribes and 3 months of acid baths. And I've been trying to do a little bit of figuring out what it could be. Oh, yeah. And before I get there, so Leighton and Pacific Radiology are really awesome in that they, every now and again, they let us scan some fossils. So this is St. George's Hospital in Christchurch, and there's my turtle skull, and some other bird bones I found from there, and then a few bits and pieces from Canterbury Museum. And here are the results. So this is the CT scan of that turtle, and you can see the white bits over here, that's bone, and the lighter gray, that's rock. And you can see there's a crack actually going through on the left there. And I gave the DICOM files to Andrew Cuff, who's in the UK, and he actually used those files and segmented it into a really nice 3D model. I'll show you that 3D model that's been 3D printed at the end. I've got it here next to me. This is just the process of segmentation where you're telling the computer what's bone and what's rock. And it's a bit of a slow process, but yeah, at the end you get a really cool 3D model like this, which you can then 3D print. And this is showing us the interior bones, which is still inside the rock. The software I'm using here is Blender, so it's a free software. And Andrew Cuff actually segmented out what the brain would be like. So he did a bit of an endocast of the brain there as well. And this is me 3D printing that same skull. And this Ender 3 this is an entry-level printer, so that's the cheapest printer you can get, and it's about $300, but you get really good results. So there's the original skull on the left, and here's the 3D print on the right, and you can see all those details. You can see the nostrils. I couldn't quite see the suture lines on top on the 3D model, but I might just have to look a little bit closer on that. So next steps with this model. So I've got I think that's a carita, a loggerhead on the left here, and you can see the suture lines over there. So I need to figure out where the suture lines are on the skull. They're quite well fused, so it must have been, by that size, it would have been an adult, I think. So I need to figure out where those suture lines are and then put them onto the 3D model. And then looking a little bit into what it could be, closest I could see is a loggerhead or a Kemp's sea turtle. And if you look here on the right, there's the maxilla bones are touching each other on the loggerhead, but not on the Kemp's sea turtle. So what I'm going to have to do, I think, is prep the palate. So remove the rock on the underside of that skull and prep the palate. So I can see if those bones are indeed touching or not. Because apparently that's one of the indicators as to which species it is. So yeah, that's my next project. If you know any turtle experts, let me know. Be really keen to talk to them. I couldn't find anyone with a quick Google of, New Zealand paleontologists, but someone on the call might know. Here's the third one. So this was about a year-long project to get this fossil out of the river. This is in the Cretaceous area, so part of the Conway Formation. This is about 1.5 tons concretion, and you can see the bones starting on the left. They're going through the middle there. And this was exposed during, or just after, one of the big floods we had. I'll start playing the video. And so this, I wasn't the first person to find this. I think Lee Love had found it when it was still in the cliff, but it had come down off the cliff. And unfortunately, someone had bashed quite a large section away from the main concretion using what I assume is a sledgehammer. And that kind of spurred a bunch of us into action to get this concretion out of the river so it couldn't get damaged any further. So I got in touch with the forestry company that owned the access into the river over here, and the landowner, and also Canterbury Museum. And they helped with paying for the transport. And you can see there's some mystery bones going through there. I assume they're either vertebra or some ribs. Probably something spiny, there were some paddle bones there, so I assume it's a Cretaceous marine reptile. There's a forestry company helping us removing some big trees that were fallen down in the winds. So they had to remove all those so we could get access to the river. And it had no problem lifting up that 1.5 tons rock. And we took it to the farmer's land. And then we got in touch with the transport company, and they brought out this crane, this 5-ton crane, a bit of advertisement there. And we actually managed to there were 6 concretions in the river over there, all full of bones. And they were just getting damaged by either the weather, the wind, the sun, the cold weather, and people just trying to chip away little bits of bone. So we just took all 6 out of the river there. And you'll see how easily it lifts up these pieces. So there's the first 1.5 tons concretion. And there was another one that was even bigger. Yeah, so this one was even bigger. It's probably close to 2 tons. It's just full of bones. I didn't see anything that looked like a skull, but there was definitely vertebrae and all sorts sticking out. That's us going through the river. We were a little bit worried because it was raining, so we weren't sure if we were going to get up the hill because it gets so muddy there, but yeah, handled it fine. And the first bone we've just put down at the bone line, one of the wineries over there. And they're going to look after it until we have time to prep it. And then the other one I brought to my workshop, my new workshop where I'm sitting in now, to start prepping it. And then once I've prepped it, I'll send it back to the museum. So it's going to be a big project though. This is a really big rock. This is by far the biggest project I've tried to prep. But yeah, I'll just go slowly. And here's just a close-up of some of those bones. This was in the bone or in the block that got removed. So I think that might be a paddle bone. It had the look of a paddle bone over there. And then, yeah, this is what it looked like. So there's a line of bones going through the middle of that concretion over there. And so what I've been doing quite a bit of is school visits. So I've got my turtle skull, taking it to one of the local schools just up the road. And then we've got a kids club at our geology club. But the thing with doing all these school visits is that you have to take a lot of fossils along. And, you know, it's a bit of a mission. So I thought, let me try and find, oh, before I got there, yeah, so I made some fossil cards as well, just to leave with the kids, because there wasn't really anything fossil related specifically to New Zealand that I could find to leave with them other than books. So I made these fossil cards to leave with them. Oh, and yeah, before I get there, I've actually back at university as well. So I think last time when I talked, I was first year. So now I'm in second year, and these are the courses I've just finished. So I did biology 113, a really nice 243 sedimentary course, and then we did the 240 Glens of Takaua field mapping course. So yeah, that's what I've just finished with now, and just some photos of that. This is so that when I go to schools, I'm telling them the right things. And yeah, so what I was trying to get at with the school visits is that it was a lot of work to try and take all the fossils to show them, and I couldn't really take everything. And eventually I'm like, I just need a space. So I've rented this place called the Old School Collective, or at the Old School Collective. This was the school in Waikuku until it merged with another school. So it's about 30 minutes north of Christchurch. And I'm opening it to the public as well, because I've still got a day job. I can only do it weekends. And this is where I'm going to be doing my fossil prepping now. So I'm going to set it up so I've got a lot more space to do multiple fossils at the same time, so I can get the acid going and also the prepping. This is where I'm sitting now at the moment, and this is the front. This is the big rock that you just saw being lifted in, and then I've tried to make it really interactive, so people can come in here and touch the fossils and interact with them and see what they're like. You know, I thought I'd give you a quick tour of what it looks like. So I'll stop my presentation now. Okay, I'll show you, give you a tour of it. That's State Highway 1 over there, heading north to Picton. So I'm about half an hour north of Christchurch. There's a cafe, some shops over there. And on this side's the workshop. There's the big 1.5-ton plesiosaur fossil there. Bit of a sign. First thing you can do over here is you can dig some fossils. So there's some shark teeth and brachiopods in here, and people can dig them out. There's some safety glasses and some tools they can use. There's a really soft limestone that they can dig in. This over here is the display area. It's about, I think, 10 meters by about 8 meters across. So it's a fairly decent sized room. And through the door over there is where the prep room will be, the dusty prep room. And over here we've got some moa books from a local author, my 3D printed moa skeleton, and a few other books over there. And some artwork by a local artist, and some of Cayman's microscope artwork. What I've tried to do is make all the displays interactive, so you can come and touch the dolphin skull over here. I've got their labels on there now, which took a surprisingly long time to do. Some plesiosaur bones, more dolphin, some wood. And then this is more an exploring area. So these are fossils from the local area. And you have to see if you can find and identify them. There's a nice martinale crab. Put it back under the sand. And in amongst these fossils, there's some tiny fossil shark teeth that people can keep if they find them. Every now and again, have to replenish it. There's a nice plesiosaur vertebra. So this is one of the few displays that's got a glass in front of it, just because these are the more fragile ones. There's the Pelagornithid bones over there. A seed cone in mudstone. Yeah, that nice plesiosaur vertebra. Sorry, I'll just stay out the sun, but over here is one of the displays. So it's got the video of the fossil turtle skull being prepped and found. And then there's the turtle skull over there. And there's the 3D print of it. This is a crab concretion that I've had CT scanned. So it's been CT scanned and I've 3D printed the crab that's inside there, just to kind of give people an idea of what's there. If you look closely, you can see the legs sticking out there. This is another display, and there's a penguin I'm prepping over there. Some of my fossil cards, and then there's a microscope that's connected up to that TV. At the moment we're looking at a shark tooth, which is being displayed on the screen there. Some more local fossils, whale bulla, earbone, some crabs, nautiloid, what I suspect is a bullfish rostrum, the Cretaceous one. Here's some of the petrified wood, some fern from down south, a very large chunk of Cretaceous wood from near Kaikoura. Another display. These are the crabs, the famous North Canterbury crabs. You see there's a really large example there. Tumidocastinus giganteus, and there's the video of me finding it and prepping it. My collection of journals from Craig Jones. Thanks, Craig. These are really handy. And some more of Cayman's awesome microscope work. Some ooids and gypsum. Some limestone from North Canterbury. Some dinosaur bone. Over here we've got some more interactive areas. So there's a big T-Rex puzzle that people can build. There's another microscope over there. I need to move my microaerobrasion into the prep room. And there's some activities back there and some posters. And normally there's some videos playing over here, some North Canterbury fossil videos. I just need to switch that on. What's cool about this puzzle is on the other side, so you've got the skin on this side, and on the other side you've got the bones. So you can choose which side you want to build. And I've got some replica T-Rex teeth around the place as well. Some more displays on this side. Some crabs from Italy someone sent me, beautiful little ones. Some moa toe bones and some other moa bones. Another moa bone that people can touch. There's a really big shark vertebra, Cretaceous one. Some mosasaur bones over there, shark vertebra. A few other bits and pieces over here. A few crabs, plesiosaur vertebra cross section. Yeah. Still a lot of work to do. but it's starting to take shape. Next step is to fill in those displays over there. I've just had some drawers made for them. And then to finish setting up the prep room in the back. And yeah, you're welcome to come visit. If you're in the area, I'm open Sundays 10 to 2. But if you're going to be here at some other time, I can open it up and give you a tour.
Thank you very much for the presentation and the tour. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stop the recording, and then I'll step across into questions.